author Mark, coming to you with another interesting discussion. Now, I've stumbled on a miniseries from 1983 called V. I watched that movie, that miniseries, when I was a kid. I was watching it with my dad. Now, what I've noticed is the similarities between what's going on now in America and what message that movie is actually trying to give to the American people. Now, most of you who have read my books, such as Progressive Credentialism versus Ageism, The American Holocaust, Fall of the American Empire, Start of the Coming Civil War, etc., etc., know that I've been researching the global governance for a very long time. Now, you might be asking me a question. Okay, Mark, what does this mini-series V has got to do with global governance? Well, I've started watching this mini-series on Roku for I've been watching it a little bit, and I've been thinking about something, and especially the episode that made me think of global governance, what I have been writing about, and the depictions of the situations in that movie, is that episode 1, when the aliens arrived on Earth in episode 1, a lot of people welcomed them. The so-called aliens promised them, it gave them some new technology, etc., etc. But and how people were fascinated by it now, and how little by little people, and in that mini series, when those aliens took over, it actually showed the slow decline, how people were, I don't know how to put this, how those people were willing to actually in the beginning, how they were willing to actually surrender their basic, I don't know how to put this. I'm going to try to do this in a nice way so I don't offend anybody, but how people were willing to actually surrender their human basic human rights, I guess, to those particular aliens. Now, most of you who have read my books know that I have been writing about global governance off and on for about a couple of years now, and I've been doing research on this particular subject of global governance, world government, etc., etc., for a long time now. I've been interested in it since I was a kid. But what really is interesting in that movie is how fast people were willing to give up their basic human rights and control of their lives to those particular aliens. Now you may be thinking, Mark, what does global governance and our rights have to do with this particular movie? Well, the movie itself, and especially I'm talking about episode 1 of the miniseries. If you carefully watch it, I mean, it actually shows how over time people will get fascinated by something, and how they're willing to actually, I don't know how to put this. Like I said, I'm going to try to do my best. How to give up their basically individuality and control of their lives to those aliens. But it's the same thing, in my opinion, is happening with global governance. How people, and what really fascinates me as a writer, that what I have written about when I wrote about this subject in my books, how most what I have written about has basically come true. And what's even more interesting and maybe funny to some degree is that in that particular movie, those people were willing to surrender their basically human rights and freedoms to those aliens, ladies and gentlemen. But what I see now when I compare that movie to what's going on now around the world, how people are willing to give up their freedoms and rights for a little bit of in my opinion, and this is my opinion, of course, how people are willing to give up their freedom and their human basic rights for a little bit of convenience, and for a little bit, because people, in my opinion, because how they gave up their control and their freedom of basic human rights, how they surrendered their rights to basically, in my aspect, and this is true especially in Europe, how fast people were willing to surrender their human basic rights, even their sovereignties, to the global governance. Because in reality, think about this. When we talk about this is evident in America, but this is more evident, in my opinion, in Europe, is how the European people, such as the Poles, the Czechs, the other European nation, even the Greeks, okay, how fast they were willing to surrender their basic human rights, and when in the case of European Union, ladies and gentlemen, they even surrendered their sovereignty to the globalists. Because look, let me explain something. Let me try to explain to you what I mean by. See, in Poland, the currency is called zloty. In the Arab countries, we have the dinar. In for example, I'm not sure. In Greece, I think we had the Greek drachma. In Germany, before the whole European Union, in Italy, for example. Now, in Italy, it's a lot easier to explain. In Italy, they had the lira, but now here's what gets me. And when the European Union came on board, and when those countries started to join, what I find it, I don't know, fascinating, or maybe I don't know how to put this, yeah, fascinating. I'm going to use that word. Fascinating is how fast people were willing to give up their each country's sovereign currency in order for this global currency of euro. And I mean, and the thing is, and it's like when people, because in my opinion, when people joined the European Union, in reality, in my opinion, they have given up their nation's control and sovereignty to somebody else, to the what do you call it? I mean, because once you, in reality, once you join the European Union, ladies and gentlemen, you basically give up control of your country and your sovereignty of your country. In my opinion, you basically turn your country's sovereignty and all the other governance of your country to a bunch of bureaucrats. Now, look, we will not always agree on things, whether I am right or wrong. I mean, whether what I say in this video is right or wrong, I'm not, I'm not gonna judge that. You will judge. The public opinion will obviously judge whether I'm saying things that are correct or not. But these are just my thoughts that, and that's why I'm coming back to this series of V. What's amazing about it, in my opinion, is how fast people were basically, how fast people were willing to give up their personal rights and freedoms in that particular movie V. How they gave it up to those aliens, but in my opinion, the same thing is happening when a country joins the the European Union. Now, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave you the link to all of my books in the description, and I'm gonna leave the link to the books that I have written about this subject in the description. But I'm also going to leave the link to those books in the comment section, so you can actually click on the comment section when you get to my channel. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you very much.